Richard Michael Krach received his bachelor's degree in math education in 1974 from The Ohio State University. Dr. Krach taught mathematics with high school students for several years and then returned to Ohio State to complete his master's and Ph.D. degrees. He accepted a position in the mathematics department at Towson State University in 1987. These are his reflections.
Dr. Krach, thank you so much for taking your time to come and talk to us about your own preparation as a math teacher and your teaching here and in public schools.
You're more than welcome, Karen.
I think a good place to begin is in the beginning. So would you share with us a little bit about your early social context, where you grew up, what kinds of thoughts you were having as you went through school about what kind of career you might pursue?
Sure. I was born in Kobe, Japan, and then moved to Canton, Ohio when I was 3 years old. And I grew up in a little suburb called East Canton, Ohio. And went to school. I think my senior class was 89 students. Okay, so it was a great environment. I wanted to do one of two things growing up. I wanted to be a professional baseball player or a mathematics teacher. Even though I was on the team at Ohio State University, I knew I wasn't going to be a professional baseball player. Okay. But I think the reason I wanted to become a mathematics teacher is I had a terrific junior high school and high school mathematics teacher, and Miss Robertson. And I did get a chance to go back and tell her after I got my undergraduate degree how much she influenced me in terms of being a mathematics teacher. I never got a chance to do that after the Ph.D. because she had passed away. But she was very demanding. And 5 of us were valedictorians of my high school class.
Really?
We were all 4-point averages. And we got a lot of press, but had we been in one of the city schools, we'd have gotten even more press. But I attributed a lot of that to Miss Robertson. I mean, she really worked us hard, demanded things from us. We were not always pleased about that, of course, but as I look back on it, that was the major reason why I decided to become a mathematics teacher, to sort of emulate her with respect to learning and teaching.
So you graduate from high school, valedictorian, and you're off to the Ohio State University.
Yeah. I was a Michigan State Spartan for a while.
Oh, you were?
I only applied to 2 places, Michigan State and Ohio State. And right before school started, Ohio State offered me a full scholarship.
Whoa.
And I decided to stay in state. And it was a great experience. My first semester, or first quarter there, I was ready to. I had never been away from home that much, and it was tough the first quarter there. I was ready to transfer to Kent State University, but I'm glad he didn't. You know.
So, I mean, how big a campus was that then?
We had 55,000 on campus. You know. And that's what I was used to, you know, and then when coming here, how little Towson State University is. But I guess you make it as big or as little as you want it to be.
Right.
And, you know, a lot of people ask me, well, I don't want to go to a big school. But, you know, you can make it as small. But it's nice to have the medical school, the dental school, the optometry school, you know, the NCAA golf courses on campus, the airport on campus. You know, just all those kind of things that I was accustomed to that wasn't here. You know, when they showed me the football stadium here, I thought that was a high school stadium, not a college stadium. But anyway, no, things got better every year that I've been here. You know.
But so you're at Ohio State, and at first it is probably just a really big place.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
And when did you decide that you were going to major in math?
Right from the beginning.
You knew going in?
Yeah, junior high school.
Okay.
Yeah. No,
so
I
you
knew.
Really stuck with that plan then?
Yes. Yeah, there was no deviation from that. Other than had I been drafted in baseball, that would have made things different. But no, I wanted to be a mathematics teacher. Absolutely.
It's a long time ago, but do you remember much about your education courses there?
At the undergraduate level?
Yeah.
No, not a whole lot. I mean, they were pretty much typical education courses. What was neat, though, is it's very much like the UTeach program here, even back then. Because during the junior year, I was secondary mathematics education, and
Right.
during the junior year, we did an elementary and middle school rotation.
You did.
So I taught fourth graders for a while. I remember that. And that was really kind of cool. And some of my colleagues decided, hey, you know, I really like this age of students, and they dropped out of the math ed program and went into elementary education.
Interesting.
And then the senior year was strictly high school. And my student teaching was only at the high school level, not at the middle school level,
No.
like they do here.
Right.
But it was very similar. I mean, they got you out into the real world, so to speak,
Yes.
right away, as soon as possible.
And that would have been very unusual to do that in your junior year. I mean, that's sort of like the beginning of your professional coursework,
Right.
to have you out in schools. And how wonderful that they would expose
It
you
was a great experience.
to elementary as well as the secondary.
Yep. So we had a very good experience doing that.
And so when you actually went out and you did student teaching, that was maybe like a semester's worth. I don't know what kind of scheduling Ohio State.
Yeah, it was the quarters.
Ah,
It was quarters. And as I recall, it was at West High School in Baltimore, in Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah.
And I had a great mentor teacher. And I believe I was there for at least a quarter, maybe the spring quarter, and probably a little bit longer than that, because I wanted to get as much experience as possible with that.
so you probably did a mix of grade level kinds of math courses, or?
No, I think she was teaching, it was the lady, mostly I think seniors.
Oh.
And so I was at the senior level at that time. But again, I can't remember exactly what it was.
No.
It wasn't AP Calculus because they didn't have that at that time. But it was like some upper level mathematics. I think the lowest was actually Algebra 2. And then something
Or
like trig and maybe geometry, but I don't recall exactly. But I had great experience there.
So you're ready to graduate. Are you feeling fairly confident that this is something you can do?
Absolutely. You know, they prepared us very well.
And so where did you go from there? What was your first
Well,
teaching position?
I was recruited by Upper Arlington Public Schools, which was one of the best school districts in the United States at that time. And I sort of wanted to do that, mainly because baseball coaching was part of that as well. But I went back home to Canton, Ohio, and there's a place, a town near Canton called Massillon, Ohio. And they had just started a new jail there called the Ohio Youth Commission, a jail for kids. And the director of that was a friend of my father's, my stepfather, and said, knew that I was graduating, and said, well, we're hiring teachers there, okay, and we want a teacher to create the mathematics program for the juveniles that were incarcerated at the Ohio Youth Commission. And I thought, gee, that sounds pretty neat. But I was sort of torn, you know.
Of course.
Because of the coaching and then
Yeah.
being in Columbus, because I like living in Columbus. But I decided to take the Ohio Youth Commission job.
You did.
And it was really neat. I got a lot of experience. Initially, the kids that were there came from Mansfield, which was a jail, I mean, for adults.
Really?
Yes. They were moving them in there, and so we had murderers and rapists and all those kind of things there. But I didn't talk about their. If they wanted to talk to me about their crimes, that's fine. I didn't go to their files or anything. I
Yeah.
treated them as students, you know. And I created the mathematics program, so it was basically a K through 12. Because I had some people who, if you ask them what's 5 plus 2, they'd go, okay. And some did trigonometry.
Yeah.
You know, so it was interesting to be able to use what I learned at the college level almost immediately with these people, and then so that was very rewarding, very rewarding.
And how long did you stay in that position?
I did that, I believe, for approximately 2 years, and then they had a graduate program that they introduced, so you could apply for it. And I was the first, actually, because it was a brand new school,
Yeah.
to apply for it, and they awarded me. So I went back to Ohio State to get my master's degree, and then I worked there. I think it took me about a little bit over a year to get my master's degree. Then I went back to the Ohio Youth Commission.
Oh, you did?
I went back, and that was part of the deal. I think I had to go
I
back
see.
for a year or two.
Sure.
And, but what was interesting is that the clientele had changed quite a bit. the hardcore people were no longer there. It was mostly incorrigibles, drugs, you know, armed robberies, things like that. Okay, and a lot of these kids were very, very bright, and they just happened to get caught selling drugs.
Yeah.
You know, and actually, matter of fact, a few of them were so bright that when I went back for my Ph.D. at Ohio State, I saw some of them on campus.
Really?
Yeah, it was kind of funny
there you go.
to see that.
Wow.
But that was a great
But
experience at the Ohio Youth Commission, Indian River School.
And so were you still doing the curriculum development as well? Great.
Yep.
And how long did you stay after you finished your master's degree?
I believe it was a couple of years.
And
Then I decided to go back and finish my degrees. You know, the terminal degree, the Ph.D. Yeah.
so, and were you involved in teaching at all as part of that
Oh
degree?
yes, master's and Ph.D. I was teaching. I was a teaching assistant in the mathematics department. At that time, they didn't tax the money. But when I was getting ready to leave, they started taxing the money. So I got during the master's and Ph.D. I got school free and then a stipend on top of that.
Yeah, yeah. That's well. Now they find any way to find revenue, even if it's taxing things that seem ridiculous to tax. Tell us about that experience working on that doctorate.
If you look at it as an entire picture, it's just not, it's unattainable. But if you look at it in bite-sized pieces, then it's certainly attainable.
Interesting. So I assume you navigated it successfully. So I guess you figured out what size those bites needed to be.
Yep. Yep.
And well, say a little more about it. This is intriguing.
Obviously, as you know, it's just a lot of work. You know, I was teaching in the mathematics department, so I had colleagues in the college education, but mostly it was the mathematics. And I taught every quarter, and basically I taught courses that for elementary school teachers, which is basically the kind of things I'm doing at this point as well. But it's slightly different at Ohio State because the teacher education was in education as opposed to here with respect to the mathematics. You know, all the math ed type courses are in the math department. That was not the case at Ohio State.
No.
And so I didn't realize that that was different than other places. I didn't know any better than that. So I kind of like both aspects. I like for us, even though math ed is in mathematics, we work very closely together with the College of Education here. And I didn't notice that quite as much. Of course, I wasn't a professor then as well at Ohio State. Not nearly as much. No, that may be different now.
Well, and it may have, as you said, have something to do with the size of the institution too.
Could be.
I mean, although you've been here at Towson long enough to know that that does change over time. What started out as very small isn't so small anymore here.
But I had some very excellent professors there. You know, Lauren Woodby at the master's degree level, math education, Richard Shumway at the undergraduate level were very influential, and Jim Schultz at the master's and PhD level. Actually, Jim was on my dissertation committee as well, and he's very well known in terms of math education. So, yeah, I had a lot of great influences starting from Miss Robertson at the junior high school level, and then at undergraduate and graduate levels at Ohio State.
So you're looking for something to do after you're finishing this doctorate, and somebody give you a call, or did you see something in the Chronicle, or?
I was hoping to stay at Ohio State, but they don't hire their own.
Right.
What was neat about Ohio State, though, is that in general, a lot of institutions, once you graduate, you're gone. They boot you. At Ohio State, they give you a year to look for a job.
Very nice.
They only hire actually their own in terms of medicine and law, mainly because it's Ohio stuff. In terms of mathematics or English or other areas, they like to have new blood to see, to have these new thoughts. And so, but had they offered me a different position, I certainly would have stayed. But it was interesting. I don't know if you knew Bob Hansen.
Sure.
Okay, he actually wrote to me and said, "Hey, we have an opening, and we thought you would fit this opening." And so I only interviewed two places here and a place in California. and I interviewed with Bob Krach, because he was the
Dean of,
dean.
what was he at that time? Dean of the college?
Yeah, dean of the College of Science and Mathematics, actually. And I liked what he had to say, and I decided to accept this position here. And well, you know, they offered me the position, and I have been here ever since.
Wow. Well, I'm very impressed that somehow we got chosen over California. So that says something right there. So you came to Towson as an assistant professor?
Yep.
And what kinds of courses were you asked to teach at that point?
Primarily the courses that I was accustomed to teaching over at Ohio State, other than the methods courses, because the methods courses were done in the College of Education.
Interesting.
But like the Math 204, 205, 251, which were the courses for elementary education majors.
Right.
So I did that a lot here. But then I taught the methods courses for early childhood and for elementary. And that was a little different. I had not done that before. Even though you think about those things when you're teaching
Well, of course.
the content courses, you didn't do it necessarily directly with methodology. So I had to do some scrambling. I had to learn some more things, you know. And that's what I basically teach here now, even at the graduate level, undergraduate level, and student teaching and those kind of things.
And that's, as you talk about student teaching, that's one thing that I wanted you to talk with us about. Now we are in this PDS paradigm, if you will, for preparing individuals to become teachers. And that probably might have been different from your experience at Ohio State in terms of their programming, or even here earlier on in your career. What kinds of experiences do our students, our pre-service teachers, have now in terms of getting ready to become math teachers? When does that begin?
Well, the UTeach program, which is brand new here to campus, starting them when they're freshmen.
Okay, tell
them out
us
in
a little
classroom.
bit about that. I don't know how directly involved you are in UTeach.
Not as much. I plan to getting more involved. But yeah, what we want to avoid is a student who gets into their last semester of senior year, student teaching, saying, this isn't what I want to do.
Yikes.
You know, it's too late then. And so I think part of the UTeach program is getting them out immediately. And they're doing that with the elementary level as well in their first 2 semesters here, to see if they really, this is something they really want to do. Do they want to work with children or you know, elementary school children, middle school children, or high school students? And so I think that's one of the really great aspects of the UTeach program.
And that originally, I think, came out of Texas.
Yes, University of Texas at Austin, I believe.
And so there are a number of institutions across the country.
Quite a few now, yes. And I believe College Park is going to start doing that as well.
Interesting.
But we were first.
Well, it should be.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But we try to pride ourselves at having the best. I mean, your CPP office does a really great job in terms of getting mentor teachers who are who emulate the kind of things that we want our teachers, our pre-service teacher to be. Matter of fact, I have a I have a young man right now who is student teaching at Dundalk High School with a gentleman named John Hill, who was a graduate of ours and is a terrific teacher. And my student teacher couldn't have had a better mentor teacher in terms of learning about how to be an effective mathematics teacher, or effective teacher, in this case mathematics.
Right. So, well, that's great.
And of course, Kim Burton Rogalski, who I told you about, is a presidential scholar and is the chair at Eastern Tech and is a graduate of ours. So we have a lot of great teachers out in the community.
And the nice thing for you is, of course, you've been involved with this for a sufficient amount of time that you can now go back to some of your graduates and ask them if they would like to be part of the process for students.
As a matter of fact, last night I'm teaching the Math 621 in the M80 program, and I had Diane Richmond, who's the principal at Summit Park Elementary School, come and speak with my Math 621 students, and they really enjoyed her presentation.
That's wonderful. So you are working with MAT students a lot. So you're looking at the graduate level courses in that program.
Yes.
and that program, I think now, are we just doing full-time now? I don't remember.
Right now, this semester, yes.
So that is a quick journey for them.
Yes.
So, and very different from You Teach, because as you said, with You Teach, they start going into classrooms as freshmen.
As freshmen, yep.
Yeah. So, and MAT, I think you really have a
They
summer and a year or something.
Yeah, but they do have field components to a lot of the courses.
Before they actually get to their internship,
Yes,
student teaching
because
semester.
I have them do some field assignments, and they do have assignments through CPP. Matter of fact, they've just had their ITEs.
Which is?
The intensive teacher experience for 3 days. They had one a couple of weeks ago. I think they're having another one in early December, I believe.
And what does that involve?
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, as I understand it, teaching all day.
Really? And that would be in their professional year? Or is this MAT you're talking about?
This is MAT, yes. So this is in this semester. And next semester, they're out student teaching full time.
So even in the semester before, they're doing 3 days of teaching. And that must have advantages because you're sort of following through the next day on something you initiated the day before.
Sure.
So.
And a lot of them come to me and ask me about looking at their lesson plans and looking at different activities and things like that, because I have them write lesson plans for my Math 621 course as well.
Very interesting. Tell us a little bit about your perspective on, and probably not just math education, but in terms of teacher education across time. What have you decided are sort of the essential components that need to be in a good program?
Yeah, I wrote a few things down because I saw that question here. I guess I look at it, in terms of the teacher education, is that you need high quality mentor teachers in the program, so our pre-service people can learn by doing, not necessarily learning by counterexample. Obviously, dedicated faculty, college faculty is important. Competent and dedicated college faculty as well is extremely important. Administrative support is certainly important. Just the evolving of the discipline of math education or education in general, try to make things better. For instance, like the Common Core State Standards, that's an evolution process there, and there's a lot of uneasiness right now because it's so brand new, and I'm hearing that from my in-service teachers quite a bit. But I think once this transition becomes is over, I think it'll be a great asset in terms of the Common Core and the standards for mathematical practices that they have. So yeah, I guess that's probably what I'm thinking there.
Yeah. In terms of, it's interesting that you talk about the Common Core and state standards. Do you think that that's a transition too for our faculty, for university folks as well?
Sure, absolutely. In terms of math education, I think a lot of the kind of things that the CCS has focus on, we've been doing it quite a while now. I don't want to, I don't want to pat our, they blow our horns too much, but really, I think all of our math ed faculty have bought into this and have done this many years ago, and so the transition isn't quite as traumatic, if you will, for us. And we've had a number of discussions about that in terms of textbooks and approaches and syllabi and all those kind of things. And that we sort of looked at each other and said, hey, this is the kind of things we've been doing all along. Not that we're complacent. Okay? Right. We're always trying to do better and get better and make modifications, things like that. But yeah, overall, I think we've done a good job. Mainly because one reason I say that is that a lot of the LEAs around here hire our graduates even before they graduate. They call me and say, hey, we have an opening. Do you have anybody? We want them. I think Parkville High School, I'd say 80% of their math department are graduates of ours.
Wow.
Okay, our graduate program in math ed for the secondary level and the middle school level are teeming with students. So I think they realize that what we offer is quality, you know, in terms of the program and in terms of the instruction.
Mike, you said that when you talk to each other about that, is this, are the faculty on campus who are in math ed, do they meet regularly to talk to each other?
Yes.
So that's, and is there
Pretty much once a month.
I was going to say, is there somebody who sort of oversees that? Is that something that you do, or?
I did. Letting some of the junior faculty take over things, but yes, we do. We have an overall math ed committee, and then we break it up into elementary, early childhood, and then secondary, middle and high school.
Because that's terribly important.
As a matter of fact, Dean Lorian is coming and speaking with our group next Thursday. He wants to talk to us about elementary and early childhood education, and maybe middle school program as well.
Interesting.
So we try to keep that two-way street.
Yes.
Between college education and the Fisher College of Science and Mathematics.
Well, it's interesting that, and you're talking about it at Ohio State, and the difference between how we approach it here at Towson and how it was done there. I think there also is a standing invitation for teacher education faculty across campus to participate in these once a month Monday
TEOHP meetings.
And TEOHP meetings as well.
Sure.
So, one of the things that impressed me most in looking at your vita was the deliberate way in which you have remained connected to public education, even going to the point of using your sabbatical time, which is very, very important to any faculty member in higher ed, to go back to public schools and do some teaching there. Could you tell us a little bit about that experience? I think I read that you've done this twice.
Yep, and hope maybe you'll do it a third time at the high school level. But,
well, there you go.
But the first time I did it at Hampton Elementary School, which is just right up the street. And because I was doing I was teaching a lot of elementary mathematics courses, so I figured that's the best place to start. And I had a tremendous experience there. It's a great school. You know, the principal, the teachers, the kids were terrific. No discipline problems that I saw. I got to teach quite a bit at all grade levels, from kindergarten through the 5th grade. I met a tremendous little girl named Sarah who was in kindergarten, and I was doing some abstract algebra type things with her.
Really?
Which was kind of neat. And she's now, I believe, a junior at College Park, but she was the concert mistress for the Baltimore Youth Orchestra.
Really?
And a terrific pianist as well. I tried to talk her into being mathematics, but she wants to be a pediatrician. But she was, I worked with her and worked with other kids as well, and had a great time there. And then after that, it was a few years, and I thought, well, the next step is middle school. And so I was the director, along with Lori Mahler, of the Governor's Academy that we had here on campus a number of years ago. And I met the math chair who was working with the Governor's Academy before I took over, Rich Cook, and he was the chair at mathematics at Towson Middle School. And we were just sort of talking. I said, well, I'd like to do a middle school experience, and a sabbatical, and would it be okay for me to come to Falston? And he said it'd be great. And so I know Sarah Morris there. She's the math specialist for the Hartford County Public Schools. And we okayed everything, and I went out there, and it was a terrific experience. Again, it's very atypical. For 45-minute periods, I probably taught for 43 minutes.
Wow. No
discipline problems. The faculty, they were great. The kids were great. Matter of fact, what was neat is that one of the teachers was sort of technology phobic. And so when I was teaching in her class, because I rotated through all the classrooms, I showed her some things about using the document camera and the TI-84 graphing calculators. Now she's using technology pretty much all the time, so that was kind of cool.
That is nice.
And I was used technology with the kids too. We did, I don't know if you know what CBRs are. They're calculator-based
No.
rangers. They're attached to the calculator, and we were using those with the 8th grade class in algebra to look at slope. And we were out in the hall, okay, and so everybody was talking about this after this was done. But what was neat is that one of the APs came by, and she was a math person too, and actually took part of in what we were doing, and was so impressed that she said that she would buy these CBRs, at least one set for the school, so that the 8th grade could use them to do the kind of activity that I was doing that. So I guess not only did they influence me in terms of my academic perspective, but also I think I helped them as well.
Oh, it certainly sounds like you contributed.
But it was a
significantly.
great experience. It went too quickly. The 3 months went way too quickly. Now I like to. My next step would be the high school. Do high school sabbatical, and I'm working on that too. So we'll see.
And that, now you're getting into some pretty heavy-duty math if you're doing high school.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I would try to do the same model, is go through all the teachers, whether it's Algebra 1 through AP Calculus. But again, that will help me just as much, hopefully, as I help them.
Well, I think just the connection is so important. It
Sure.
keeps you fresh. You know what's happening in the schools.
And I like working with the kids, whether they're, 4th graders or middle school or high school.
Or kindergarten,
Or kindergarten.
potential pediatricians.
Yep. Yeah, like I said, working with the kids and working with the teachers was just really great.
Can we go back to something that you mentioned? You talked about the Governor's Academy. Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was here for quite, actually I think I started at UMBC, and then they split it. I think the elementary was here and the secondary was at UMBC. Lori Molitor, I think, was the person who was in charge of that. And so, but after a while, after a few years, I think they brought everything here. And so initially, I was one of the presenters. I did, a few workshops for the teachers. But then Lori retired, and so Kate Denniston and I became the directors of it. And so we had a $500,000 grant from the state, MSDE. No, MHEC. One of them, MHEC or MSDE. Okay. And we ran it from here. And it was a 3-week residential program during the summer for teachers K through 12.
And was it all subject areas?
Math and science.
Math and science. And it was an in-service for them. Did they get any kind of credit for it?
Yes. They got in-service
credits.
Yes.
I don't know if we
Continuing
still do
education.
that. Yes.
I think CEUs. I think continuing education units.
Do we still do those?
No, we do not anymore. They changed the focus of the Governor's Academy.
I see.
So we haven't been doing it for like 5 or 6 years now.
But that was a real endorsement then of math and science education.
Absolutely.
Because it sounds like that was a fairly significant grant.
Yep.
That's another thing that I would like you to talk about, if you could, is just the kind of need and supported need there is out there for higher ed to create more math and science teachers.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of grants, STEM grants out there. We had a number of them actually. Gail Kaplan, Todd Moyer, and myself had MHEC grants that we interacted with Dundalk teachers from Dundalk High School, teachers and students from Dundalk High School, and had PD for the teachers, and then did on-campus activities for the kids there. Also, Sonali Raja from the chemistry department, Gail Kaplan and I also did some things with Du Bois High School, not only with Dundalk High School also, but also Du Bois High School, which is a city school as well. Same type of thing. Gail and I worked with the mathematics part. Sonali did the science part, and then we had some DECO people do the part for the students. We brought them on campus and did some other things about, college careers and things like that. So, but yeah, we enjoyed working with the teachers and the students as well, and these were high school students. But actually, the Dundalk grant also worked with Dundalk Middle School and Holabird Middle School, and students and teachers as well. So we try to keep active as much as possible in terms of working with teachers and students.
And it sounds like with the Maryland State Department of Education too.
Yeah, they're
there
supporting.
seems to be a pretty good relationship there.
Absolutely.
So.
Yep, that's where the money comes from.
Right. Yeah. So they're good people to have as friends, aren't
Absolutely.
they? There
Absolutely.
you go.
And we're looking at doing some more things too. And what was kind of interesting too, out of the grant for Du Bois High School, is we got 2 articles published in the Mathematics Teacher, which is like the premier mathematics journal in the, if not the United States, the world.
Wow.
Actually. So yeah, Sonali, Gail, and I had 2 articles published. So we're trying to do more of that too, in terms of looking at these grants and then getting articles published with respect to the grants.
Well, it certainly is nice to share your success with other people.
Sure.
So that it's not just a select group of people benefiting.
Yep.
So, what else should we be talking about?
I don't know. I guess some of the culminating things with my career, again, it's sort of on the downside now a little bit, getting closer to the retirement, is that a couple of the things that I guess treasure, or I really am proud of, is that I was president of the Maryland Council of Teachers of Mathematics for 2 years. So that was it was a tough job, but I enjoyed doing it.
And what kinds of things did you do in that job?
Just run the meetings and the conferences and make sure everything was running smoothly with the organization. You know, recruitment of new members, just things like that. And during my time as president, we had a National Council of Teachers of Mathematics regional meeting here. Like we had just one this past month in October. And we had one also when I was then, and that's a lot of work.
And how many people would attend something like that?
Probably maybe 5,000.
Okay. Yeah.
Not as many as a national meeting, but quite a few. It's downtown at the convention center. So you know, like between 3,000 and 5,000 people. But that was a lot of work, and we sort of, you know, we worked with the State Department in terms of looking at mathematics and how best we could influence the mathematics of the state, offer workshops, things like that for in-service teachers. So it's grown quite a bit even since I've been president of an organization. The other thing is being an assistant chair of the mathematics department.
Yes.
I never thought I would want to get into administration, you know, but the chair, Dr. Bullis, asked me about 6 or 7 years ago if I would do that, and I said reluctantly, I said yes, and that's been a very rewarding experience.
Well,
as
good.
Well. I'm no longer. I decided to step aside and let other people take that. But I did it for 6 years, and that's good enough.
And what kinds of responsibilities did you have in that position?
Working with students a lot, answering questions, transfer petition forms. The biggest thing was working with the adjunct faculty. A lot of complaints, both ways, you know, student complaints and also instructor complaints. But I enjoy that a lot because I get to work with the part-time instructors or the adjunct instructors. And I was part of the, we now have adjunct 1 status and adjunct 2 status, and that transition, or that promotion, if you will.
Yes.
So I was ahead of that. And then, you know, the observations of our adjunct faculty and things like that. So I got to know the adjunct faculty very well. So I enjoyed that quite a bit. Because a lot of times you just see them and say hi and that's about it. But then I realized I got to talk to them. Some of them I didn't even know. I didn't put names to faces.
Sure.
But now being that, I knew who people were.
A very important responsibility. And when people just come on campus to teach one course or so, it's hard to have a sense of being part of anything. So it sounds like that's one of the things.
The door is always open.
Yeah. Well, and there's somebody they know, and they know where that office is, and when you're available. And there's 2 categories for adjuncts. Is that something the math department did, or
No,
is
that's
that
university?
That's a university, and so now we have adjunct 1 and an adjunct 2.
Yes.
And is the essential difference a salary difference?
Yes, slightly. Yeah, we don't pay our adjunct people nearly as much as we should.
I know.
You know, and
I know.
But at least it's something. It's a little bit of recognition.
Yes, absolutely. And what do you have to do to qualify?
There, you have to submit a dossier, and it's on the website. They've got all the information that you have to put there. It's quality teaching. And again,
Great.
you know, if they weren't quality teachers, we would be hiring them back.
Well, that's true.
So it's sort of obvious.
Yeah, but
But it's nice to reward them in
well,
some way.
and as you said, it sort of documents that.
Absolutely.
If you get this, it says that we acknowledge that you are a quality teacher.
And we give you a few bucks extra.
Yeah, I know. You know, a meal out maybe.
Yeah.
But
Buy some gasoline.
yeah, truly. So you
and-
can get to your schools.
Yeah, and the other actually two things is I was voted as Teacher of the Year with the Maryland Council of Teachers of Mathematics and the Fisher College of School Mathematics a few
Very
years ago.
nice.
So that was nice as well.
So that award for the Maryland organization can go to someone in higher education? Is there a category?
There are different categories.
I
Yes.
see. Well, what a nice feather in your cap and in ours as well to have that happen. And tell me about this. Fisher College now has some kind of award.
Yeah, they have awards for different categories. Actually, that forum, that I guess we call it the fall forum, is coming up very soon, this month actually. And they have different levels of.
And so that award was a teaching award?
Yeah, Teacher of the Year or something of that nature.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and then
How
they
nice.
have other awards too, Research of the Year and then for the staff as well. So
Very nice. And I think also is a nice thing for your students to see and know is that you have been recognized as a quality teacher.
sure.
So that's great.
Even though they may not think that around exam time.
Well, maybe not, but hey. But later, after they've graduated and you go back to them.
Right. That's what I tell them is that, you know, the grade you get in this course now, you may know now, but 5 years from now you're not going to care. It's the information that you take from this, the resource that you take from the course, that you utilize 5 years from now. That's the important part.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure they quite believe me at this point, but hopefully later on. And I've had people that has actually come back and said some things about that.
Yeah. Wonderful. That's so rewarding.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely. That's about the only type of reward that you get, which is fine.
It's the best.
Yes, absolutely. Actually, I rarely go to that ratemyprofessor.com site, but I was told that one of the comments was, "He's the reason I'm a teacher."
Oh.
And you know, what better praise than that?
None. That's great. Wonderful.
Yeah, I wish I knew who that was.
Maybe you'll find out at some point. We always have one last question,
Sure.
and that's what kind of advice would you give to someone who's considering becoming a math teacher, teacher of mathematics, or a teacher?
I thought quite deeply about this, and I did actually write something out here that I thought I'd read,
Okay.
so I didn't forget. I said, to be a good teacher at any level and in any subject area requires flexibility and dedication, and a clear realization that to be an effective teacher requires a firm commitment to lifelong learning. And I believe all those things, especially the idea of lifelong learning. You know, I've been doing this a long time, but I'm still learning something almost every day.
Absolutely. Yeah.
From little ones to medium-sized ones to high school to college. So I'm learning something all the time.
Well, it seems like your career reflects that. I mean, the fact that you want to go back and you want to be in schools says that this a real need for teachers to continuously renew and to learn.
And to learn, absolutely.
So-
And hopefully I'll be around long enough to do the high school sabbatical.
I certainly hope so. We got to get that in there.
Yep.
How long before you can have another one?
Probably a couple of years.
Oh, okay. Well, hang in there.
Yeah, I
'cause
tried.
this is, I think that would be wonderful.
Unless I hit the lottery, but yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
I know that's what we all say. So far, none of us have.
Not
so-
yet.
But we can keep trying. And you, being a mathematician, know just how likely
Yeah,
that is.
I don't even think about that. It probably is quite slow, like quite small. But
I'm sure. Anything else, Mike? This has been great.
No, nothing I can think of right now. It's just, you know, I do value the relationship that we have with the college, Fisher College of Science and Mathematics, with the College of Education, in terms of working together to make our students better prepared to become teachers at with any subject area.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one of the things that Ray continually mentions, as does the president, Marvin Lesky, is that teacher education is across colleges at this institution, and we understand that it is a primary mission of the institution. And with that kind of belief and support, I think teacher ed is probably where it needs to be and should be.
And it only gets better.
I hope so. Thanks so much for doing this.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.